Welcome to the Aria, a powerful journey through raw stories brimming with passion, betrayal, and intrigue. If these videos spark joy within you, don't just watch, hit that like button and let your feelings be known. The impact is deeper than you think. Let's uncover the story that lies ahead. I don't know if I'm sharing this story for sympathy, forgiveness, or just to let it escape from my soul. For reasons known only to me, I feel no pride in my actions, and I know others may never understand my choices. Still, I must voice it even if just once. I am called Elena. At 34, everything unraveled. My 9-year marriage to Daniel came crashing down. In our small town, everything felt known, and whispers darted through the air like a summer storm. From the outside, my life seemed stable: a warm home, a reliable paycheck, and a husband who always returned for dinner. But deep inside, everything changed. It took me a long time to finally see that truth. Daniel harbored no malice within him. He kept his composure, never raising his voice or his hand in fury. He radiated unwavering strength and trustworthiness. That was all there was. It was like being in the presence of a colleague or a housemate, an intimate yet charged connection. Every day we fell into the same routine, asking, "How was your day at work? What will we eat for dinner tonight? Did you take out the trash yet?" Everything played out predictably, lacking any spark of intrigue or wonder. Slowly, I realized I was disappearing in the shadows of my own marriage. I embarked on my literary journey in a quaint local bookstore where every page turned whispered secrets of the soul. The issue went beyond simple money concerns. I just wanted something to fill the void. That was when Owen started appearing in my life, time and again. He had been by Daniel's side since their childhood, a bond forged in the fires of youth. They had known each other since school, their paths intertwining occasionally, each encounter charged with unspoken memories. Owen was the antithesis of Daniel. His spirit was alive, bursting with spontaneity, and a hint of humor danced in the atmosphere. He noticed the small changes, like when I changed my hairstyle or when exhaustion seeped into my expression. As Owen entered the shop, an unsettling normalcy wrapped around him, hiding the storm beneath. He stepped inside, eyes scanning for a book on vintage motorcycles. Our conversation hung in the air, charged with the weight of the book. What haunts me is his question about my well-being, not out of simple courtesy, but with a depth that suggested he truly wanted to know. The weight of that question haunted me all day long. In the weeks that followed, he came more often, each time with a new excuse. A book he craved, a gift he needed to find, or sometimes just a simple cup of coffee from the nearby cafe. Slowly, our talks grew more profound. Nothing extravagant, just brief flashes, but it was those very moments that had slipped through my fingers. Once again, a wave of familiarity surged through me, revealing just how intensely I longed for that bond. I hid Owen's frequent visits from Daniel, not out of deceit, but because I knew he wouldn't understand the reality of it all. He may see it as strange or inappropriate. Maybe it was. For me, it felt like taking a deep breath after an endless struggle for air. On a Thursday afternoon, the rain fell in a relentless torrent. The kind of rain that soaks you to the bone, no matter what you wear. Owen stepped inside, drenched and shivering, gripping a bag that held a plastic-wrapped novel tightly against his chest. I laughed and said he looked like a drenched king cat. He smiled and said, "I came for the book, but also for the company." In that inaugural moment, I felt it, a powerful pull I struggled to name. Caution was not just important, it was vital. I told myself it was harmless, yet loneliness wrapped around me like a heavy shroud. I had crossed no lines. I was just going about my day, lost in my thoughts. Truly I was. Maybe not right now, but undeniably in essence. At home, a cold silence settled in, and Daniel drifted deeper into his thoughts than ever before. Each evening, he surrendered to the flickering glow of the television, lost in a haze of mindless scrolling and responding to work emails, even when no one demanded it of him. I reached out, hoping to spark a conversation. I even asked if we could escape for a weekend, just the two of us. He nodded, uncertainty flickering in his eyes, and promised we would arrange something soon. Still, we never took that step. I started to fill a notebook with the thoughts I yearned to share, yet words eluded me. I wrote about my loneliness, my regret, my confusion. Slowly, Owen's name began to haunt those pages, a presence I was unwilling to confront. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, shadows crept into my tired home, and I returned, haunted once again by the echo of Owen's voice in my thoughts. His words from earlier at the store haunted me, clinging to my thoughts like a shadow I couldn't escape. Once I revealed my passion for painting before marriage, and he asked why I stopped. I was left with nothing but silence. I had no idea. The question haunted me all day, a relentless shadow that wouldn't let go. As night fell and Daniel drifted into sleep, I slipped into the hallway closet, pulling out a long-forgotten box of art supplies, shrouded in dust and memories. At the kitchen table, I grasped my pencil, ready to pour my emotions onto the page once again. My hands fumbled, but in that moment, it felt like I was rediscovering a piece of my soul that time had stolen away. I longed to share my burden, but I was resolute that it wouldn't be Daniel. The next time I saw Owen, I revealed that I had picked up drawing again. He radiated pure joy. "That's incredible," he said, his voice filled with awe. "Never stop chasing the passions that set your soul on fire." Alive. The word pierced through my core, igniting a stark awareness of the endless numbness I had been lost in. I began to feel the pull of two separate lives. One with Daniel, steady and calm, wrapped in polite silence, and another with Owen, electric and ephemeral, filled with stolen glances, fleeting words, and laughter that resonated long after it faded. On a still Friday afternoon, Owen stayed behind, the shop empty of all but his solitude. He handed me a meticulously wrapped notebook, each fold whispering secrets of anticipation. "This is for your sketches," he said, his voice heavy with meaning. "I thought you deserved a new start." The leather journal rested untouched, a symbol of pure beauty. I should have said no, but I didn't. I offered my thanks, and in a heartbeat our hands touched, a mere flicker in time, but it ignited a storm within me, my heart pounding like I had just run a marathon. That weekend, silence hung heavy between Daniel and me. I watched him fall into a deep sleep on the couch, the remote tightly held in his hand, while I sat beside him, pouring my thoughts onto the pages of the notebook Owen had given me. With each page I filled, a concealed truth emerged, pulling me deeper into a chasm that separated me from my husband. One morning, I found Owen waiting outside the shop, his anticipation palpable as he stood ready for my arrival before I unlocked the doors. Cradling a cup of coffee, his expression was steeped in apprehension, revealing unspoken depths. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice laced with urgency. I nodded, just a fraction, but it felt heavy with meaning. In the shadowy back room, we sat in two chairs, a small table looming between us. He stared at me, the weight of his gaze stretching time until the silence shattered at last. He murmured softly, "I find myself thinking about you more often than I should, fully aware of the wrongness that lingers in my mind. Daniel is a dear friend of mine. Even though you are married, I cannot hide my feelings for you." My heart pounded with intensity. Words slipped through my fingers. A part of me ached to plead with him to stop, to never speak those words again. Yet the neglected side, the one cast aside, hungered for every word spoken. I held my tongue. I simply looked at him. In that stillness, a powerful bond ignited between us. In that moment, the line between worlds vanished. We held back, our lips never touching. A shift happened. From that moment on, I realized that nothing could ever go back to how it was. That day in the back room transformed my view of Owen forever. Even more troubling, I couldn't bear to see myself in the same way. Every meeting with him became charged with meaning. Even a simple hello held profound meaning. The thrill of his impending visits ignited a fire within me, a longing that felt almost too intense to bear. With each passing day without him, an unsettling void consumed me, as if a crucial part of my existence had shattered. I told myself it was just a performance, a momentary crush that would soon fade away. Yet deep down, I felt it was something much more dangerous. Inside our home, Daniel seemed unaware of the change within me, or perhaps he chose to keep his silence. I was the one who closed the distances, who kept the fire alive. In this moment, my strength has faded. I made dinner, asked about his day, noted his short replies with silent nods, and quickly escaped to my notebook as soon as I could. Unbeknownst to me, my pencil danced across the page, capturing Owen's essence. His eyes held a depth that drew me in, his smile radiated warmth, and his hair fell softly across his forehead, a tender touch that lingered in my mind. In that instant, I ripped the page from the book, tossing it away, weighed down by a deep sense of shame. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, an irresistible urge compelled me to relive the moment again. On a still afternoon, we made the choice to shut the store early, driven by the urgency of necessary maintenance. Owen stepped forward, ready to help with the daunting task of moving heavy boxes. Just the two of us filled the back, the rain's relentless rhythm tapping against the windows, blending with the heavy, nostalgic scent of dust and old paper that hung in the air. As I lifted the heavy stack, he stepped in to take it from me, and once again, our hands touched fleetingly. This time we stood our ground, unwavering, refusing to back down. Time stretched endlessly as we held each other's gaze, every second thick with unvoiced emotions. I remember feeling an overwhelming mix of everything and nothing at once, fear, regret, longing. Then I paused, heart racing. "This is wrong," I whispered softly. He answered without hesitation. Silence fell heavy between them. He helped me move the boxes, then left in silence. Once again, everything had shifted. Uncertainty hung heavy, threatening to shatter our hopes of changing the path we had chosen. That evening, I sank into the couch while Daniel lost himself in a gripping crime show. He didn't bother to ask how my day was going. He was unaware of the weight of my silence. I looked at him deeply, and an unusual sorrow enveloped me, not anger or hate, just a deep, aching sadness. I remembered the man I married, the one who would unexpectedly bring me flowers, who once drove 6 hours through pouring rain just to be with me for one night during our courtship. I couldn't shake the thought of where that man might be. The next day, Owen was nowhere to be found. Or maybe the next one that comes. His absence hung heavily, a cold whisper that swept through the room. I tried to escape my thoughts. I rearranged the shelves, cleaned the back office, and stepped up to cover a coworker's weekend shift. Still, everything felt futile. As the shadows deepened on a Sunday evening, a message came for me, shattering the stillness. Just one powerful sentence. "Are you okay?" It emerged from Owen. I stared at it, time stretching endlessly before me. I could have chosen to ignore it. I should have. Still, I replied, doubt lingers within me. He lingered before responding. Seated, phone tight in my grip, I was consumed by a whirlwind of thoughts about my purpose in that very moment. The screen flickered to life, casting shadows that danced across the walls. "Are you open to a conversation?" I nodded in agreement. In the shadows of the bookstore's parking lot, our paths collided. The clock neared 9 p.m., enveloping the empty street in an eerie silence. We sat in his car, the air thick with unspoken words, the radio whispering secrets just for us. We stood there lost, with no clue where to start. "I've tried to stay away," he finally confessed, "but you haunt my mind." "I too think of you," I whispered, my heart heavy with longing. It was devoid of romance, stripped of any trace of drama. In a car, two souls wrestled with the heavy burden of their emotions. Our conversation unfolded, exploring the complexities of life, the intensity of love, and the feeling of being trapped in a fleeting moment. Owen confessed he had always seen me as one of a kind. From the start of my marriage to Daniel, he made it clear he didn't want to be the reason for anything falling apart. I shared my deep wish to never become someone who causes others suffering. We had crossed an invisible line. We knew it all too well. Yet neither of us found the strength to walk away. After that night, we found ourselves drawn to each other more and more, forever distant from the warmth of home, always slipping through the cracks of public life, forever quiet, forever wary. We told ourselves it was just a conversation, a fleeting attempt to understand the tangled web of it all. Emotions surge unexpectedly, raw and unfiltered. They thrive with undeniable vigor. Laughter surged once more. Thoughts whirled, and emotions ignited within me. Owen presented a challenge that forced me to reevaluate my views, stirring deep memories of who I once was. Slowly, the heavy burden of guilt I carried started to lift, replaced by an unexpected spark. Hope. Hope can be a dangerous thing, especially when built on secrets that lie beneath the surface. That evening, Daniel surprised me completely. He came back holding a bouquet of white lilies, my favorite. It had been years since I had mentioned them. "What if we ventured out this weekend?" he proposed, a spark of excitement in his eyes. "Just the two of us, maybe by that lake you loved so much?" Words slipped through my fingers. I stared at the flowers, captivated by their mystery, as if they belonged to a realm beyond my own. "I miss you, Elena," he whispered, his voice trembling with longing. It was the first time in ages that he had spoken such words. It broke a piece of my soul. That night, I drifted through the hallway, ensnared by a storm of doubt about what to do next. I built this secret part of my life, never stopping to think about the fallout when the truth would inevitably collide with it. I never meant to hurt anyone. I never thought it would come to this. The next day, I told Owen it was time to end this once and for all. Daniel was trying with all his might. Owen nodded, a flicker of hope in his eyes, yet a heavy burden remained in his gaze. "I get it," he said, his voice heavy with understanding. "Face the truth inside you. Don't cling to comfort at the cost of leaving behind what truly matters." I decided to remain silent. I turned away and walked out. For days I fought hard. At home my smiles came alive. I shared my day with Daniel, we watched a movie, then wandered through the neighborhood, reminiscent of the past. Yet, the divide that separated us went beyond simple feelings. It had entwined itself within the core of the foundation. Every time I looked at him, a deep loneliness washed over me, making me feel like a stranger in the life I once recognized. On a still evening, I found the notebook Owen had given me, and my heart raced. Weeks had passed since I last touched it. With a swift motion, I turned to the first blank page, my pen poised, ready to transform my swirling thoughts into raw, vivid words. This moment transcends sketches. It's all about the power of words, echoes of thought, the abyss of feeling, everything I held within. I lost myself in my writing for hours, consumed by every word. In the end, I understood that I had created something resembling a confession, not just for Owen or Daniel, but for me as well. The road before me loomed with doubt and fear. Uncertainty consumed me as I weighed the choice to stay or leave, wondering if Daniel and I could heal what was shattered, or if the scars had already become too profound. Yet, beneath the surface, I realized the mask was slipping away. The truth loomed, unyielding no matter what I wished for. Days after I had laid my heart bare in that notebook, I sat at the kitchen table with Daniel, cautiously placing it in front of him. He stared at it, a spark of wonder igniting within him, as if it were a long-lost relic from a shadowy past. "Read this, please," I urged, my voice barely above a whisper. "Not right now, but soon. It holds every word that remains unvoiced." He held back his questions. He held his composure. He nodded slightly, a silent acceptance hanging in the air. I walked while he lost himself in the words. A chill clung to me, even with my hands buried deep in my jacket pockets, relentless and unyielding. I kept going back to every word I had written again and again. I spoke of the void, the chasm that keeps us apart. Indeed, I wrote about Owen briefly, without the desire to hurt him. It was enough for him to understand the magnitude of what had happened and the profound confusion I felt. When I got home, Daniel remained at the table, still and silent. He sat there, head in hands, the closed notebook looming before him. "I wish you had told me sooner," he said, his voice heavy with feeling. I found myself lost, unsure of the next step to take. He nodded, each movement heavy with meaning. "It feels like I've been gone forever, doesn't it?" Not in a tangible way, but in every other imaginable aspect. I sat across from him, heart racing. Absolutely. Still, I let it happen. I stopped trying. I let go of all hope. An aching silence wrapped around us, honest and raw. He finally spoke, the weight of truth pressing down on him, no longer able to hide from the reality of what had happened. The fear of losing you grips my heart, tears threatening to spill, but I fight to keep them at bay. We must begin again, rebuilding from the very foundation. The past fades away. Only the truth remains, raw and undeniable. The weeks that came were the hardest yet the truest of our lives. Daniel never asked me to erase a meal from my memory. He didn't shame me or raise his voice. He simply asked questions, daunting trials, agonizing moments. I met each of them with the honesty I had long avoided. I told Owen that our time together had to finish. It wasn't that I didn't care. I realized that to fight for my marriage, I had to pour every part of myself into it. He seized the core. He didn't beg or plead, he simply declared, "You deserve peace, Elena." Tears cascaded down my cheeks, clinging to the fragile hope that you would discover it. He entered my life like a sudden flash of light, not out of regret, but with the heavy weight of farewell hanging in the air. That light wrapped around me, offering warmth in my coldest moments, yet it was never mine to possess. Daniel and I began our intense journey through therapy side by side. For the first time, we entered a room where a guide helped us unearth the words we had buried deep within for years. We unearthed secrets about each other that should have come to light 10 years ago. I realized how often I had silenced my own desires just to keep the peace. He realized how often he withdrew, convinced that silence brought him the stability he craved. It turned out to be a formidable challenge. There were nights spent apart and arguments that drained us completely. We faced moments of profound progress. We discovered tiny joys, laughter bubbling over coffee, cooking together, and savoring the stillness on the porch. Slowly, a true bond began to ignite between us again. My belief in fairy tales has shattered. Life doesn't reveal itself like that. I firmly believe in the power of earned second chances, each day a new opportunity to rise again. I believe that choosing someone goes far beyond just the moment of saying "I do." Love surprises us, emerging in ways we never anticipated. Sometimes silence wraps around everything, heavy and profound. Sometimes chaos reigns. Sometimes it forces you to face your deepest struggles to reveal your greatest victories. As night fell, Daniel and I sank into the couch, the echoes of dinner still haunting the room. The sun sank, leaving a haunting blend of gold and blue etched across the sky outside our window. His hand reached out, trembling with unspoken words. "Have you ever questioned his very being?" he asked gently. I spoke the truth. Sometimes he nodded slightly, a silent recognition hanging in the air. "Do you still care for him?" I paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. In his presence, I found a version of myself that I truly valued. But it was never meant to last. Our journey together is a tapestry woven with a lifetime of unforgettable moments. We lost our path to truly be a part of it. He gripped my hand with fierce intensity. "Thank you for sharing that with me, even though it broke something inside. At last, we understand what we are rebuilding." A smile flickered on my lips, quiet yet profound, utterly genuine. The kind that comes after a raging storm. Months have slipped away, but the burden of what happened clings to me still, not as a concealed disgrace, but as a powerful reminder of the fallout that occurs when we stop communicating, stop truly seeing each other, stop embracing honesty. Owen was never the villain, and I was not just a woman lost in the shadows. We were two souls yearning for a true connection, but the story did not end in betrayal. The ending lacked the shattering glass or the thunderous echo of doors slamming shut. The ending resonated with raw honesty. A new beginning rises from that truth. Every morning I awaken next to Daniel, driven not by obligation, but by a deep yearning. Challenging days lie ahead. We keep stumbling. And here we stand, caught in this moment of connection. Our eyes connect, a wordless conversation igniting between us.